alluded to just a few moments ago, our weather impact team is giving us regular updates on what we can expect on this weather alert day. So we have Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich joining us here in the Live Impact News studio right now. Thanks for coming in, Brad.
Thanks for having me.
So you're watching potential flooding.
Yeah, potential for some isolated flooding and severe weather, and that's really going to be the story tonight and tomorrow. So just so everybody knows, it's not going to be a huge area that everybody's going to see rain and storms. These are isolated, and that's what makes them kind of difficult and also kind of dangerous because as we could see right now, we'll look at the radar. It's outside of our area, but for folks watching online, if you're up there in Wilkes County, Yadkin County, Allegheny County, we've got a pretty stationary thunderstorm that not only is prompting a severe thunderstorm warning, but also a flash flood warning. And this is exactly the kind of storms we're worried about today. It's a slow-moving, pretty strong storm causing flooding as well as maybe some damaging winds. You can see the flood warning is up until about 9 o'clock, but you see the severe thunderstorm warning is only until 3:45. So the flooding is going to end up being longer lasting. Now the rest of the mountains and foothills, we actually had some flooding up in the Boone area at the parking lot at the mall. That's pretty typical, to be honest. It's kind of a running joke up there. That mall parking lot floods like every time it rains, but kind of shows you that just a brief amount of rain did cause the creek near the Boone Mall, the flood a little bit, and we've got more storms developing up there. But across the Charlotte area, these are going to be late arrivals. Actually, Jeb was just asking me about a flight into Charlotte around 5 o'clock, and I will tell you, probably early evening is going to be okay. It's going to be after dinner time. It looks like 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. So these could be late arriving storms that develop in the mountains first and then push east through the evening hours, and they might linger all the way until 11 o'clock tonight. Just to give you an update on the watches, currently there is a severe thunderstorm watch for our northern counties. That does include Wilkes, Ashe, and Watauga counties. That is up and through tonight. We'll basically probably see that extended. We've also got flood watches in effect, which have been extended a little bit. We had flood watches for the path of Chantal, but if you look carefully, some of them have been extended further west into southwestern Virginia and even parts of the northern Piedmont. So we're starting to see those extend a little bit into the evening hours. Now, our severe weather risk today is kind of that low to medium range. Tomorrow it'll be low to medium again, and even on Friday, a low risk. But Friday, we're starting to see some signs that maybe won't be as bad, Vanessa. So it's really going to be today and tomorrow that we see the biggest issues with both flooding and severe weather. So we want you to stay alert. Not everyone will get hit. You may miss it today, and then tomorrow you get hit, but the next 2 days are the days we need to watch carefully.
Well, I have a pretty specific question, but
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to know the answer because you're on top of everything, which we so appreciate here. But we know that the officials in Mebane right now are giving an update on their water treatment facility, which took a hit from Chantal and the flooding. And are you concerned for, let's say, that city with the flooding potential that could really exacerbate issues?
Yeah, so that's a real concern with any rain that moves through. So the area between Greensboro and Raleigh, so think along 40, 85 there, Burlington, Orange County, Chatham County, Alamance County, those counties are saturated. They will take less rainfall to cause flooding than over our area. So, for instance, there's a product that we looked at called flash flood guidance. Basically, how much rain in a certain amount of time does it take to cause flooding? Right now, for our area, it probably take 3 to 4 inches of rain over a 3 or 6 hour period. Up there, it's only like 1 to 2 inches. And these storms have already had a history of producing 1 to 3 inches per hour. So if those storms get over those areas, you're going to see flooding happen super quickly because there's nowhere for the water to go. The ground is saturated, but all the creek streams and the area lakes are already up very high, so it would not take much to cause flooding in those areas.
With all of the headlines recently regarding flooding, I mean, obviously we talked about the local impacts we've had here in the Carolinas, but obviously one of the really big national headlines we're seeing coming out of Texas and Hill Country there. What do you recommend for folks, as far as general flooding safety, just as this is forefront for so many people's minds right now?
I think the biggest lesson here is flooding is one of the most dangerous weather phenomena we have. We always talk about heat being kind of underrated, rip currents being up there. But the top three are going to be heat, rip currents, and flooding. It's not tornadoes. It's not hurricanes. It's not severe thunderstorms. It's those top three. And flooding is the hardest one to kind of warn for, Vanessa, because the problem we have during the summertime is the flooding can be so isolated. Like we saw in New Mexico yesterday. One thunderstorm on the side of a mountain in a burn scar causes record flooding in southern New Mexico. That little pop-up storm, early in the day, it was sunny for all day. After the storm moved through, it was completely sunny, but they saw flash flooding. We saw flash flooding in Chicago last night. 7 inches of rain falls over Chicago, midtown Chicago. That's all impervious surface. So it almost doesn't matter where you are. The potential for flooding is always there. And unlike tornadoes, which everybody kind of knows, hey, go to your safe spot in your house and wait it out. Flooding's hard to message. And what I mean by that is, you don't know where the water's coming from. You don't know what higher elevation is and lower elevation is. I mean, think about how disorienting it is to think, where's the water coming from? It's a lot easier to protect yourself from a tornado because you just know I'm going inside to the safe spot and I'm staying there. But in flooding, you're always wondering, like, where's the water coming from? You've got more dimensions to worry about. You've got elevation. Is it coming from the north, south, east, west? So that all makes it really, really difficult to forecast, but also message to people when it comes to flooding. And it's the summertime. In all these locations, people are traveling. They're not used to those areas. They don't know that it's flash flood prone. They don't know that they sit in an area that's flooded 10 times in the last 20 years. So all these factors kind of play into the fact that flooding is really, really dangerous. And if there's any good to come from all of these disasters, and even the Texas disaster, is hopefully people will pay more attention to flash flooding and start thinking about having a plan and 3 ways to get warnings.
I mean, I think about, my time in Florida, going through multiple hurricanes and hearing time after time that you hide from the wind and you flee from the water.
Run from the water, yeah.
Yeah, just because of the immense threat that water can pose.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get into the weeds here, but I am very curious about this meteorological discussion that I've been seeing online in the wake of what's going on in Texas Hill Country. And you alluded to this, the fact that it is difficult to forecast flooding. And I'm just kind of curious if you can kind of break down in maybe some layman's terms of, what sort of nuances would you potentially have to look at? For example, if the rain's falling on one side of the mountain versus hitting the other side and then it rolls down to another community at the foot of that mountain.
Yes.
Like, what are you looking at? What makes it so difficult?
So the hard part is we know there's going to be heavy rain in a general area, but to pinpoint the exact location is the hard part. It's even for tornadoes. Like, we can put out an outlook saying, hey, there's going to be a risk of a tornado. Knowing which specific neighborhood and the strength of the tornado ahead of time is virtually impossible. That's not a predictable thing until the storm actually forms and gets on the ground and you can track it. But you bring up a good point. You could have a flash flood in your location and not see a drop of rain. I think that kind of blows your mind. We have cues as human beings. I was talking to a lightning expert yesterday, and he was saying one of the problems at the beach with lightning strikes is most people are looking out at the water. They're not looking behind them. And so if there's a dark cloud coming up behind you, but you're at the beach staring at the ocean, you're not paying attention to what's coming up behind you. And in flash flooding, if you're at the base of a mountain or in a river basin or stream, and there's no rain falling where you are, why would you think it's going to flood? When up at the top of the mountain, it might be raining 6-7 inches of rain, but all that water has to come downhill. So that's what makes it really, really difficult. Having kind of situational awareness, we call it. And let's be honest, if you're on vacation or you're enjoying the outdoors, the reason you're doing that is not to have situational awareness. You're trying to escape from paying attention to stuff. But unfortunately, that is something, if you're going to be outside or outdoors in general, you just have to pay attention to the weather. And for the weather in the entire region, just not where you are.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That was, by the way, very insightful, so I appreciate the explanation. Anything else you want to leave us with before we wrap things up, just about the next several hours, what you're going to be looking for, and that sort of thing? So
I think the big thing is, like, if you don't see rain right now, don't think it's not happening because this is not going to be an all-day rain. I think people see the chance of rain in the forecast, 70, 80%. That doesn't mean it's going to rain 70 or 80% of the day or over 70 or 80% of the area. It just means there's a very high chance at some point between now and midnight you're going to get some rain. And so even if you haven't seen rain yet, it doesn't mean it's not happening. It could mean that it's not there yet. So make sure you're still taking precautions until we get into the overnight hours. We'll give you the all clear and things will kind of reload. And we'll do this all over again tomorrow. It'll start dry and late in the day and the evening, we'll see another round of storms.
Okay. Now, we just wanted to remind folks, if they're maybe a new viewer here on Live Impact, that we do have your 6:30 weather impact stream that we do every weekday. I'm guessing, of course, you're going to be talking about this topic. Anything else that you might be touching on, you think, in that half hour?
Probably today we're going to focus on the local weather. So usually we'll have a topic or we'll do some national weather and bring on guests. But tonight, Brittany Van Voorhees and I will probably be just tracking storms the entire time. And we'll probably go past 6:30 and 7 o'clock and maybe into 8 o'clock. So typically we might have more news coverage. I think we're going to be doing more weather coverage tonight, which is great. So if you're watching WCNC on air or on cable or satellite, you can watch entertainment. But if you want weather information, flip over to WCNC Plus. We'll have weather coverage even when we're not on TV.
Yeah. I mean, and the great thing, too, is y'all really do get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've learned so much over the years just by listening to your forecasts and how you explain the forecast and how you even got to that, conclusion in the first place. So I think there's a lot of value to this show, and it will definitely, I think, serve folks well
Yep.
today. And of course, tomorrow, as you mentioned, will be weather alert as well.
Yep.